we give Israel $4 billion a year. That's a lot. Congratulations, by the way. That's pretty good. But we give Israel billions of dollars a year. Billions.
So why is the president of United States on camera claiming that we are giving $4 billion to Israel in a year? Why?
One of the highest, and we give a lot of countries money. You wouldn't believe if I said we give Afghanistan a lot of money. Do you? Because that was a Biden deal, another Biden deal. Not only did he embarrass us with that, but they give them billions of dollars, Afghanistan. So, but no, we take good care of our friends, and we don't take care of our enemies. We're not taking care of our enemies anymore, but we do take care of our friends.
Israel's war on the people of Gaza would not be possible were it not for foreign support. They simply don't have an industrial base big enough to sustain that kind of war effort. It needs the billions of dollars in military aid from the United States. It needs the weaponry manufactured in the United States, but also Germany, and to a small extent here in the UK as well. And you look at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is basically the aid distributors, which have been the sites of those awful massacres that we've seen. It is staffed by many, many American mercenaries. So this genocidal war is an international project. And I think that Davy could go further, because it's not just Donald Trump who's had a role to play in this. Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, when Netanyahu first cut off food, fuel and water to all 2 million people in Gaza, said that Israel has that right. Emily Thornberry came on this very show to back him up. So it's not just Donald Trump and the sort of obnoxious MAGA crowd who are complicit in this. It's our lovely lefty Labour government as well.
Right. Obviously, the IDF would say it is not a genocidal war. The Israeli Prime Minister would say it's not a genocidal war.
I'd also say I'm 6'4". Not all things are true.
Absolutely. I'm just saying what they would say. And I'm not necessarily giving it equivalence. I'm just saying what they would say.
Yeah, he's claiming again that we are giving money to Afghanistan, right? We are funding terrorism. Now, watch to the end and I'll explain to you.
American taxpayers who are desperate for a better life here in America, they need to hand over billions of dollars to the Israeli government and the IDF, and we need to shut the F up about any of our critique. AIPAC is evil. AIPAC is evil. Evil. My fellow Americans, are you okay with that? Are you okay with a lobbying group representing the best interests of a foreign government telling you you need to bust your ass every day, work a job that you likely hate, and have a portion of your earnings taken from you by our federal government and funneled to the Israeli government so they can commit atrocities in the Gaza Strip? Are you okay with that? Because I'm not okay with that. And nothing gets under my skin more, okay, than hearing these pieces of crap say things that make it clear that they feel entitled to our money. Entitled. That gets under my skin more than you guys understand.
America first. But when it comes to Israel, it's Israel first. The question is why?
And here we got Professor John Mearsheimer explaining why we are putting Israel first, instead of looking to our own interest in the Middle East and how it foolished all of us in the beginning.
I believe there's one simple answer: the Israel lobby. The lobby is incredibly powerful. In the past, when I was younger, the lobby operated on two levels. One was the policy level, and two was the popular discourse. In terms of the popular discourse, for a long time, the Israel lobby basically influenced the discourse in ways that made the Israelis look like the good guys. And it made it look like every time the United States supported Israel, it was because it was in our national interest. Is that the lobby has lost control of the discourse. And people now understand that the United States is doing things for Israel that are not in the American national interest. It basically does control the policymakers.
Every year, billions in U.S. taxpayer money go to one tiny country, Israel. Politicians from both parties line up to pledge support. But why? Behind the scenes stands one of the most powerful lobbying machines in Washington, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, backed by a network of Jewish donors, strategists, and political action committees. They don't just donate, they decide. Pro-Israel lobbyists influence foreign aid, shape sanctions, and push wars aligned with Israeli interests. Want proof? Look at how Congress reacts to any Israeli military action, no matter how controversial. Or how presidential candidates race to speak at AIPAC events, knowing careers rise or fall based on loyalty. Even key figures in U.S. foreign policy, Henry Kissinger, Paul Wolfowitz, Anthony Blinken, carry Jewish heritage and strong Zionist ties. Meanwhile, think tanks like the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and Brookings push pro-Israel narratives into policy briefings and newsrooms. Guys, you're told America stands for freedom, but sometimes it stands where it's told. And in the shadows of D.C., the question isn't who's elected, it's who's funding the choices.
This video might be censored, so share to your friends as you can, and let them see the truth.
I want to know what type of dirt Israel has in America. Because if you didn't know, they just passed a bill for American taxpayers, which is me and you, to pay for Israeli soldiers, to pay for their retirements. And they're going to be getting more than American vets, than American soldiers. Yes, you heard that right. Now, this video is probably going to get 0 views because every time I talk about that nation, all of a sudden I'm getting 10 views when other videos when I'm talking about absolutely fucking nothing, I could get 1 million. So, I'm going to ask a question. What kind of dirt does Israel have in America while we're here bending down to their very will? I want to know. Plus, let's be honest here. Israel isn't even a real country. The real Jews, I'm not even going to say anything. And I'm just going to leave it there. I want an answer. Does anyone have an answer as to what kind of dirt Israel has in America? That's all.
Check this out about the money that we are sending to Israel. Did you know that we're sending $63 million a day to them now? They also get this at the start of the year instead of in quarterly installments, so they can start collecting interest on it right away. Good for Israel. And because the U.S. operates at a deficit, we have to borrow money to give Israel $63 million a day. All of this is as a result of special interest lobbying. And normally, when we give countries military aid, they're supposed to use that money on American military items. Israel is the only country that's allowed to use our military aid that we give them on companies within their own country. They are planning to phase this out. However, Israeli defense contractors are working on merging with American defense contractors to avoid this when it's supposed to end in 2028. We have given Israel more aid than any other country in the world. Again, our country is bought and paid for.
Well, good morning, America. Did you know that the Pentagon just authorized the release of $3.5 billion of your taxpayer dollars to go to Israel so they can use it to buy American military weapons and tanks and bombs to replenish what they have used bombing everyone around them and carrying out their offensive in Gaza. Now, this $3.5 billion is coming from the $14 billion that Congress appropriated for Israel back in April. $14 billion of your taxpayer dollars. And in the last 24 hours, at least 70 Palestinians have been killed, 356 injured, 18 aid seekers were killed, and 117 were injured in Israeli attacks. And in the past week, from August 14th to August 21st, approximately 370 Palestinians have been killed since Sunday, August 17th. And that is what your American taxpayer dollars are going to. Are you happy about that? Are you happy about that? God bless. And God bless America.
I can't believe you actually think you made a point here, because the point I have been making, and I've been repeating on here, is that the Democrats don't actually listen to their base. Your point was that the Dems absolutely have listened to their base. And what's the point you bring up? And the point is that the Dems have absolutely worked to pass military funding for Israel and to increase their military funding. So your point that the Dems listen to their base still stands? 92% of the Democratic base does not want any more funding to go to Israel. 92%. Are you okay?
Now, here's the real deal. Our vets are lacking health care. Our vets are homeless. Our vets have nothing to show for their military service. Our healthcare is crumbling. People are becoming homeless. People cannot afford a lifestyle in this country. Why? Because the government is overtaxing them to send the money to bomb children in Palestine. Huh? This is awkward.
So be honest, why do we have to fight for Israel?
Because multiple countries are attacking them and they need our help.
I get that kind of, but what is the real reason why we gotta fight for Israel?
Well, Iran striked us first, so we need to strike.
No. You attack them first. Again, what?
It's because
is
we
the
like little
real
kids. We like kids, okay? I don't know how else to put it. We like kids. We got in trouble with touching kids, and if we don't fight for their country, then we're gonna get in trouble, okay? Do you understand that? Do you get it?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, I'm not fighting with you.
Please!
So the mission is to expand Israel from what it is today.
Also, yes.
To expand into Syria,
Yeah,
into Egypt.
exactly.
Are you excited about these plans?
I'm very excited.
But this entails that you would have to take over countries that already exist.
Right.
So we're talking about half of Iraq, we're talking about Syria, we're talking about parts of Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt. How is that going to happen? There are people living in these countries. What's going to happen to them?
It's a great question. I don't know. I know it's going to happen.
This might be the scariest video I've seen come from Israel.
Attention, citizens of Gaza, listen carefully. This is an urgent military advisory from the Israel Defense Forces. For your immediate safety, we urge all residents of northern Gaza and Gaza City to temporarily relocate south. Let me repeat. We urge all residents of northern Gaza and Gaza City to relocate south immediately. To the residents of northern Gaza and Gaza City, your window to act is closing. Move south. For your own safety, move south. This is not a mere precaution. It is an urgent plea for the safety of the civilians in Gaza.
That is not a plea. That is a threat. They are pushing them to the tip of Gaza. They're saying if they don't go, it does not matter. They're going to bomb the shit out of them regardless. If they push all of the Palestinian people to this little spot, this little area in Gaza, what makes everyone think that they just won't bomb that area? Just an absolutely blatant threat. I feel like the clock is ticking right now. That video has absolutely shook me.
Right now, bulldozers are still clearing the land of the village for construction of more settler-only roads. Yes, Israel builds segregated roads crisscrossing the West Bank as they expand their illegal settlements. It's a stark reminder of the apartheid system that the West Bank is under. An apartheid system that Desmond Tutu, a Nobel Peace Prize winner who won it for fighting South African apartheid, says is worse than what he had to fight. Residents fear that this construction are signs of the new E1 settlement, which Israel's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, set into motion to accomplish what he says will, quote, bury the idea of a Palestinian state. Smotrich heads Israel's settlement program in the West Bank, and he wields a lot of power over the territory. If completed, the E1 settlement program will effectively cut the West Bank into two, aligning with Smotrich's promise last November that 2025 is the year that Israel was going to fully annex the entire West Bank, which of course he doesn't mean annex, he means ethnically cleanse. West Bank territories have been occupied for decades and decades. They are already effectively annexed.
I have never heard of Palestine. At least I didn't until like a year ago. I wasn't raised Jewish. My family isn't Jewish. So to me, October 7th kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. And it wasn't until I started looking into it that I realized that it didn't come out of nowhere. This has been happening for the last 80 years. So I wanted to go over a history of Israel in case there's anyone out there who, like me, had no idea what was going on. For the sake of this video, let's start at the end of World War II. In 1947, the United Nations got together with the goal of creating a home for Jewish people. The UN voted and agreed that they would use portions of land in Palestine to make a Jewish state. It's worth mentioning that Palestine did not have a say in this. They were not a voting member of UN, so this just happened to them without them having any say in it. After the land partitions were agreed in Palestine, armies moved in to forcibly remove all of the Palestinians that were living on the land that was meant for a Jewish state. In 1948, 750,000 Palestinians were kicked out of their homes to make room for a Jewish state. Palestinians call this event the catastrophe, or in their words, the Nakba. Around this same time, Israel formally declared itself a country. Almost immediately, the Israeli armies started to try to take land away from the Palestinians, moving into the areas that the UN had set aside for an Arab state. The only areas that they weren't able to capture were the West Bank, which was an area at that time controlled by the Jordanian government, and the Gaza Strip, which was controlled by the Egyptian government. Jordan and Egypt were able to maintain control of these specific areas until 1967, when Israel launched an assault on both the West Bank and Gaza to capture these lands from the different governments. This point in time is called the Six-Day War. Israel was largely successful. They were able to annex the West Bank from the Jordanian government, and they were able to capture Gaza from the Egyptian government. At this point, the UN is pissed because now the Palestinians have no land. So they immediately passed a resolution that essentially said that Israel was supposed to get out of the West Bank and also Gaza, something that Israel did not do. This went on for 7 more years until in 1974, the UN finally recognized the Palestinian Liberation Organization as the official government of Palestine. Israel did not like this move, so they sought to undermine the Palestinian government. So what they did was they started funding different political organizations inside of the West Bank and Gaza in an attempt to have a destabilized government within Palestine. I want you to remember this because this is very important and it does come back to bite Israel later. So even though the UN recognized the Palestinian government and told Israel to get out of the West Bank and Gaza, Israel still continued to send people into Palestinian land as settlers to go capture land from the Palestinians and live there. The Palestinians eventually revolted against the Israeli government in a huge uprising, or in their words, an intifada. In 1987, the first intifada happened. Palestinians revolted against the Israeli government and tried to take back their land from the Israelis. In response to this, the United States tried to broker peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis in what are called the Oslo Accords. But once again, Israel refused to abide by the Oslo Accords and continued to occupy Palestinian land. I think you're kind of getting a theme here. So in 2000, a second uprising happened, a second intifada. But this time, one of the governments that Israel had been funding to undermine the Palestinian Liberation Authority actually succeeded in kicking out Israel from Gaza. That political organization calls themselves Hamas. Israel literally funded Hamas in hopes of undermining the current Palestinian government. Israel hated this. So what they did was they blockaded all of Gaza. They restricted all movement in and out of Gaza. They built a wall around the entirety of the West Bank and monitored all the civilians that were living in there. They restricted who went in and out and what food goes in and out. This starvation of Gazans hasn't just been happening since October 7th. It's been happening for the last 17 years. And that brings us to today, where Gazans are still being starved by the Israeli government. Movement in and out of the West Bank and Gaza is severely restricted. Israeli settlers are still going onto Palestinian land and taking it for themselves and kicking out the Palestinians. This isn't a war. This is a brutal, well-funded army launching full-scale assaults on civilians, all while using your American tax dollars. The Palestinians have a right to live in peace. Israel is systematically cleansing Palestinians from their homeland to try to take it for themselves. They are committing a genocide. We, as American citizens, can no longer accept American politicians defending Israel. This must end.
So, this confirms what we have been saying all along. Israel is not concerned with saving the kidnapped citizens of Israel who are kidnapped on October 7th. They are not interested in that. What they're interested in is expanding into other Arab countries, Lebanon, Syria, and maybe take over Sinai. That it was what Israel is always concerned about, expansion, so that it can bring more of its citizens inside Israel. That's what they are concerned. They are not concerned about anything.
Ted Cruz said yesterday the only reason he got into Congress 13 years ago was to bless Israel, because he was taught growing up in Sunday school that those who bless Israel will be blessed. The only problem with that is it's not based on any biblical passage whatsoever or Christian theology, because the Bible is clear in the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, and New Testament that if you want to be blessed, if you want your nation to be blessed, you will care for the orphan, the alien, and the widow. The Bible is clear in the prophets that it was because the people of Israel were not taking care of the poor that they were put into exile. And in the New Testament, Jesus gives the Sermon on the Mount where he says, "Blessed are the poor, for they should inherit the earth." It is quite clear in the Bible that if you want to be blessed, if you want your nation to be blessed, the way you do that is by caring for the poor, the immigrants, widows, orphans. The way that you are blessed is if you bless others. Jesus tells us that the way you treat the least of these is the way you treat me. And the way that we receive blessings from God, blessings to be bountiful, blessings to have abundant life, blessings to have salvation, is by caring for the poor. If you want our nation to be blessed, if you want our world to be blessed, the way that we do that is by caring for the poor, the orphans, the aliens. Supporting immigrants and caring for the poor is the best way we can ensure our country, our nation, and our world is blessed by God.
Is Hamas wrong in attacking Israel? Yeah, that was wrong move. And it is very bad to attack another country. But the sponsors of Hamas, they not live in Palestine. They live in other countries. Nip the vice at the bud. Yes. So if you want to cripple Hamas, target their leadership. They live in Saudi Arabia. They live in Dubai. They live there. And the US has military business over there. US has influence over there. Why not kick them out of those places? Why? Israel had designed this all along so as to attack and take over the land in Palestine, so as to use it as a pretext to wage war over Syria, over Lebanon, and take a land in those places. Yeah. Now, let me tell you one thing. Look at the countries in Middle East. Almost all of them are Muslim countries, right? First, number one, Egypt. Why is Egypt so peaceful? Because they are friends of US. Why did Libya crumble? Because of Gaddafi could not play ball. Saudi Arabia is peaceful. Oman is peaceful. Bahrain, peaceful. Qatar, peaceful. Yemen, there is this war being fought between Saudi and Iran in Yemen. It's a complicated situation, but it's a religious war, right? Let's go over to Iraq. They accused Saddam Hussein of having a weapons of mass destruction. They invaded Iraq. ISIS came up. It's all a mess. Syria, it is all a mess because Bashar al-Assad could not play ball, right? Lebanon had to defend itself through the Hezbollah when Israel tried to invade them. So now they have to form this group which they are designating as a terrorist group to defend themselves. Israel is the aggressor here. You can't claim otherwise. You are bombing children to obliteration. Even Russia doesn't do that. You are bombing children. You are bombing hospitals. If you want to target Hamas, you know where their leadership is. You know their leaders. Target them. They are in Saudi. They are in Qatar. They are in Bahrain. You know where they are. Target them. You are bombing Iran. Why are you bombing Iran? Why are you bombing Iran? You are bombing Iran. Last month, but one, Trump sent 2 bombers to bomb mountains in Iran. I don't know if there were bombs there. I don't know. Why did they do that? Why do they do that? In every Muslim country that their leaders don't conform to the United States, there must be a terrorist group. There must be destabilization of the government. Look at the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. What was his name? Imran Khan. He was overthrown because he started forming alliances with China, Russia. He was overthrown. So US is the sponsor of terrorism in Middle East. We all claim that Muslims are suicide bombers. Muslims, they are aggressive. Yeah, you must be aggressive when you are pushed to the corner. What else do you have to do? A foreigner comes to your country, they invade you, they take you away. What do you have to lose? No health care, you got no education, you can't live a decent life. You have nothing to lose. We are forcing them to become extremists. So my advice: get out of the Middle East. Let the Arabs deal with their problems themselves. Because we intervene in a country, there is a war. We intervene in a country, there is a war. We were in Pakistan. I don't know in Afghanistan. I don't know for how many years. Until Taliban took over. Is there any terrorism problem in Afghanistan right now when Taliban is in power? Give people the power to decide their leaders. Yeah, guys. So if you are new to my channel, my name is Anthony. Subscribe to my channel and give comments about what we have talked about, and I'll appreciate.